rising tensions, the largest US military base in the Middle East putting some personnel on standby to leave. As Iran temporarily closed its airspace, Flight Radar 24 showing the nearly empty skies over the country amid fears of US military strikes on Iran. After 3 weeks of protests against the Iranian regime, more than 2,600 people, most unarmed civilians, have been ruthlessly killed, according to human rights activists, with more than 18,000 imprisoned. Now, President Trump saying the killing and the execution of protesters has stopped.
We have been informed by very important sources on the other side, and they've said the killing has stopped and the executions won't take place. There were supposed to be a lot of executions today, and that the executions won't take place.
One young man set for execution, 26-year-old Irfan Sultani. His cousin, Samaya, telling ABC News these execution verdicts are issued overnight with no warning. She says Irfan always felt he shouldn't stay silent and would stand among the people. Under growing pressure, this morning, Iran's judiciary confirming Irfan will not face the death penalty, although he will still be charged. The Iranian foreign minister telling Fox News no hangings are planned, and with a stern warning to President Trump.
My message is do not repeat the same mistake that you did in June. If you try a failed experience, you will get the same result.
Warning the US not to attack as it did last year when it targeted Iran's nuclear facilities. Well, this is the most significant period of turmoil in Iran since the revolution 47 years ago. President Trump says Iran will stop the killing, but he's also told people to continue protesting, and many are going to have little confidence the regime won't use deadly violence again if they do.
All right, all praise to our Heavenly Father, the Most High Yah, the great I am that I am. In the name of our Lord and Savior, some of y'all call him Yahusha, some of y'all call him Yahushua, some of y'all call him Jesus. All right, so as y'all can see, right? That's the story that we're hearing, in America here, is that, Iran is going to stop the killing. So, the United States don't have to go over there and bomb them. Now, why would you go bomb somebody that, if they're trying to stop protesters, why would you go over there and bomb them? If they're going to execute the people that's trying to undermine their society, how is that going to help anything, right? You bombing them, you know what I'm saying? Seems like you're trying to aid and abet, those people who are trying to undermine their society, right? But anyway, the title of this video is this video for a reason. Did Putin just check Trump, right? Because we heard from the United States, they basically saying, oh, it's because Iran said that they're not going to execute people, right? But is that really true? Let's go and look at some more clips.
Well, Russian President Putin just issued a full-throated warning to the United States and Israel against attacking Iran. Putin said any attack would be a grave mistake and come with devastating consequences.
While Russia has cautioned the United States of attacking Iran, it has said that the threats of new military strikes on Iran are categorically unacceptable. Moscow has slammed Washington in what it calls a subversive external interference in Tehran's internal politics.
Well, you'll recall that Putin, of course, doesn't bluff, and all Russians have now been removed and left Israel. According to sources, of course, Putin was absolutely furious about the way that Israel handled the Syria situation. Of course, felt, in fact, totally betrayed by Netanyahu over what happened in Syria. Here we now have Russia sent multiple large freight flights into Tehran over the past few days, including another one today. Could that be why President Trump is now saying that the killing is winding down? Listen.
So you see, they saying that Putin basically said, hey, all you Russians come on out of Israel. All y'all come up out of there, right? And then he sent cargo planes down there into Iran, right? Let me show you another clip.
Amidst the protests in Iran, several Russian cargo planes have sparked new discussions. One after another, Russian cargo planes are landing in Tehran. The international community has questioned whether this is a last-minute preparation by the Iranian government. According to the flight tracking company and Tasnim news agency, 5 Russian cargo planes have already landed in Tehran. These include Iskander long-range missiles that are capable of carrying both nuclear and conventional warheads. According to analysts, if this information is true, Iran's defense system will have a new level of influence in world politics.
So you see, more to the picture than what they're actually telling us here in mainstream media in the United States. From what we're hearing from other news sources, you know what I'm saying, is that Putin started moving some military equipment down there in Iran. Gave them a couple weapons, for them to say, okay, yeah, let them come right in here again, and then, it ain't gonna be pretty, right? So, you know what I mean? Now all of a sudden, oh, well, they're not gonna kill everybody, so it's all good, right? So, did Putin check Trump? What's really going on, right? Let's go back to the redacted clip.
So President Trump, I'll just paraphrase what he said just a few minutes ago. He said that, we just got on good authority that the killing has now stopped, basically all but stopped. We have that on good authority. When a reporter asked about that.
It's winding down.
It's winding down.
Like the end of your coffee.
It's amazing how you would actually know that, by the way, unless the CIA and Mossad was actively involved in actually stoking a lot of this violence. But okay, nevertheless. Meanwhile, the propagandists are using the same old script ripped from the exact same playbook they've used countless times to sell us a war in Iran. Pro-Zionists accounts sharing fake death numbers out of Iran, so-called MAGA influencers sharing fake protest videos. Are there real protests? Yes, of course there were. Are we being told the truth about what's happened? No, we're not. Mark Levin posted this. Just spoke with a friend who managed to reach Iraqi Kurdistan. This is what he told me. The number of people killed is far higher than the 12,000. The massacre is beyond horrific.
Oh, 12,000 deaths bother him? Who's going to tell him about Gaza?
No, I don't care. They're able to compartmentalize this stuff.
All right, so as y'all can see, Mark Levin. Let's go to AI overview and y'all going to see. What does it say? Yes, Mark Levin, the conservative radio host and author, is Jewish, born into a Jewish family in Philadelphia and raised with Jewish traditions, strongly identifying with Israel and Jewish causes, right? So here it is, you talking about everybody, oh, it's just horrific what they're doing in Iran. They're just horrific. You were just now killing up all kinds of people in Gaza, and you have nerve to sit here and say something? I mean, if these people are not the synagogue of Satan, who is? They are the biggest liars and the biggest, fabricators of truth there is, right? And you want America to go in here and fight y'all's battles. If y'all got a problem with it, then you go do it. Why you trying to get America to go in there and do it? Why y'all trying to convince Americans to stand up and support for y'all? You know what I'm saying? When it's like, you got nuclear weapons. If they doing stuff that you don't like, go over and do something about it. You did something about Gaza. But now let me show y'all this, who this Mark Levin, how he felt and what he said when it came to the Palestinians.
Mark Levin has repeatedly called for just murdering civilians, children in Gaza because they're Amalek or whatever. They're stained by blood guilt. Prime Minister of Israel said exactly the same thing. They are guilty by virtue of how they were born. So that, by definition, includes women and children. So Mark Levin is not clever enough to keep the implications of these views to himself, and he said them repeatedly on television, just to give you a sense about how Mark Levin feels about human life and the human soul. Watch this.
And I'm supposed to, shed crocodile tears for what's going to happen to these people? I'm not. Maybe I'm the only one who will voice it, but I'm not. Israel has every right to throw every damn thing it has at barbarians. And if there are innocent people, quote-unquote civilians, who are killed, then maybe they ought to organize to take out the government they elected. Oh, but don't hurt the civilians. Look, we have to defend ourselves. The Israelis have to defend ourselves. The free world has to defend itself. And if there's collateral damage, well, that's too bad.
Well, if it's collateral damage, that's too bad. Well, why don't you go over there and be the collateral damage then? You know what I'm saying? Why should somebody else go fight so you can go over there and live in peace, right? Why don't you go fight, right? You care about it. You got one life to live just like everybody else. So why should somebody else go over there? You want the land. You want to go over there. So go over there and join the IDF and you go over there and fight them. Why you want Americans to go do that for you, right? Well, let's go back to redacted because there's another one that's getting ready to pop up and she runs her mouth. And so let's put her on blast.
Laura Loomer. New video from Iran. She shares a video of body bags on the streets. An Iranian friend of mine just sent me this footage from Iran. So many, nearly 20,000 Iranians have been murdered by the regime for protesting for their freedom. The streets are lined with dead bodies and body bags. There aren't enough body bags to keep up with the death toll. And she posted
Funny how all these...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, funny how all these people all of a sudden have Iranian friends.
Yeah, it is true. She's got lots of friends in Iran. So all of the people who cried about the fake genocide she posts in Gaza for 2 years are awfully quiet right now about the massacre of 15,000 innocent Iranians this week. It's a straight-up cult.
Laura Loomer. What does it say? Yes, Laura Loomer is Jewish. She often describes herself as a proud Jew or feisty Jewess. Her Jewish identity has been a prominent aspect of her public image and political activism, particularly in the context of her far-right, pro-Trump platform and her controversial rhetoric, which includes self-described proud Islamophobe stances. Oh, but now you're talking about, oh, we got to save the Iranians. The Iranians are being hit. But you're a proud Islamophobe? Really? She has used her Jewish background to counter accusations of anti-Semitism within the far-right movement and to frame her own political arguments, such as criticizing other Jewish politicians as self-hating. No, you're self-serving, right? And you think you're so smart that you can come in and put on a conservative outfit and then try to get all Americans to go over here and fight and lose their lives so that y'all can go over here and live in that country that does not belong to you.
Did conservative activist Laura Loomer get the State Department to stop flights of Gazan refugees from entering the U.S.? The State Department announced Saturday that it was suspending the issuance of visas for individuals from Gaza to look into how a small number of temporary medical humanitarian visas were issued in recent days. This came after Loomer shared a post on X saying beginning earlier this month, the U.S. was accepting children from Gaza for medical treatment with the aid of the nonprofit organization Heal Palestine, flying into California, Ohio, Seattle, D.C., and Atlanta. In one of her posts, Loomer alleged that Palestinian families arriving in Houston were seen waving flags and making what she described as a, quote, Hamas terror whistle after getting off the plane. So she called Heal Palestine a national security threat, and she accused those involved of aiding an Islamic invasion and demanded accountability. Loomer also claimed that Heal Palestine is working with Islamic charities she alleges have ties to Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood and are funded by Qatar. Texas Representative Chip Roy was unaware of the incoming flights filled with Gazans in his state and wrote he was deeply concerned and was inquiring. In response to this complete shutdown, Heal Palestine released a statement on Sunday expressing disappointment over the visa suspension. The organization emphasized that it's a U.S.-based nonprofit focused on providing urgent medical care to Palestinian children, including helping severely injured kids access life-saving treatment unavailable in Gaza.
So how ironic, you know? You're supposed to be a conservative, right? But now when people were trying to get some of those Palestinian kids out of the country and get them some medical aid, you sit here and you blew the whistle because you're trying to keep people from coming here and getting some healing, you know, some help, right? Children, right? And yet you want to stand here now, after you've done all that, you want to stand here now and tell people, oh, why is everybody being such a hypocrite? Why ain't everybody saying something about the killing that's going on in Iran? Y'all think y'all can manipulate people into taking your side so that you can go over here and bomb another country, you know what I'm saying, and create more chaos and cause more deaths of innocent women and children just so that you can go run your butts all over here and profit and sit in a land that does not belong to you, right? Can't make it up, right? Let's go back to the redacted clips.
Of course, Loomer is conveniently leaving out the part where Mossad is playing a very heavy hand in these protests. According to our sources, Mossad has killed many people on both the Iranian security forces side and the civilian side. But she's just conveniently ignoring that and that part of the story. In fact, Israel's Channel 14, Israel's own media, reporting that Mossad is literally arming people here. We reported tonight on Channel 14. This is Israeli, by the way. We reported tonight on Channel 14, foreign actors are arming the protesters in Iran with live firearms, which is the reason for the hundreds of regime personnel killed. Everyone is free to guess who is behind it. That's one part of the story. The other part of the story, of course, is about the impending military action. Quite a few reports surfacing today Reuters suggesting within 24 hours, the United States is about to bomb Iran. But remember, Trump likes to bomb countries over the weekend when the markets are closed, like Friday into Saturday morning, like last time when the oil markets are closed and the stock market is closed.
So now y'all see why we have to keep our eyes alert to see whether or not, you know what I'm saying, there's going to be a bombing this weekend, right? As soon as the stock markets, are closed down for the week, So anytime Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we never know, right? But he go bombing Iran, he could be setting off World War III, right? But now let me go show y'all something. He brought up the Mossad, you know what I mean? And how they're over there messing around in Iran's country and stirring up controversy. Let's go to the Times of Israel and see what they say about it. All right, so as we can see, this is from the Times of Israel. What do we see? As of January 13th, 2026, Iran claims to have arrested Israel-linked terrorist groups, right? Iranian security forces claim to have arrested what a state television report describes as terrorist groups linked to Israel in the southeastern city of Zahedan. The report, without providing additional details, says the group entered through Iran's eastern borders and carried U.S.-made guns and explosives that the group had planned to use in assassinations and acts of sabotage. Since the 12-day war between Iran and Israel in June, Tehran has stepped up executions of people it has accused of working for or collaborating with the Mossad, okay? Tehran has also blamed America and the Zionist regime for the anti-government riots currently rocking Iran. So they're there providing weapons and all this stuff for the people to rebel against the government. Then, when the government goes to crack down on these people and ready to execute them, Trump comes in talking about, we're going to bomb you. Make it make sense. All right, next let's go to another article from the Times of Israel. What do we see? Mossad, which is Israeli intelligence, said to tell U.S. at least 5,000 killed in Iran protests, right? The Mossad has conveyed to the U.S. that at least 5,000 Iranians have been killed in the protests, according to an American official quoted by Channel 12 News. So Israeli intelligence is coming telling America, what are you telling America for, right? Y'all, if you're Israeli, America's got its own intelligence agency, the CIA. So why are y'all conveying stuff to the U.S., right, about how many Iranians have been killed? Except that y'all got some personal interest involved in this, right? The report says the U.S. administration is shaken by the scale of the killing. So you're just going to go over here based off of what they're telling you, right? And you're going to go over here and do something. What they got to do with you? Why are you going over there? You ain't got nothing to do with that. All right, so y'all see, right? America and Israel is working together to undermine their society. Now, you done already put sanctions on them and almost, devalue completely their currency, but that's not good enough, right? You got to go over here. You got to start arming, militias within the country to try to overthrow the country. And so you can go and put a puppet leader. So this is what y'all do. Divide and conquer, right? And so the bottom line is Iran and Russia and them know what you do. Your playbook is the same, but you go and you try to convince Americans, Christian Americans, right, to stand with you and support y'all going over here trying to overthrow other people's countries, right? And these churches stand with this garbage. The synagogue of Satan, right? They don't sit up here and tell you that these people that's doing this kind of crap, you know what I'm saying, are the same people that have went into different countries all over the world. And yet American soldiers have to go over here and shed their blood for these people to go in and take other people's resources, right? And then when the veterans come back here, you know what I'm saying? They don't get nothing. Half of them got to fight to just get any kind of health care, right? But yet these rich people who they got poor people to go fight for them and kill other people, they go in and take all the resources and then continue being rich. And everybody just keeps going along with this like this is normal behavior, right? It ain't nothing but Satan. These people are Luciferians, right? And Americans, you know what, British, all of them are all in bed with this, right? Let's go to the next clip.
As the bodies of protesters pile high in Iran, one fact stands clear in a deeply complex debate about American supremacy. The Islamic regime is vile. We don't need to speculate about executions, torture, and the repression of women because the regime wants its own people to see the consequences of its dissent, of their dissent. We don't need to exaggerate Iran's support for global terror because the regime wants its own people to believe in its power when it leads them in chance of death to Britain and death to America. And we don't need to amplify Iran's brutality because the regime itself says that thousands have died in this crackdown and that some protesters could be hanged today. President Trump last night implied that Iran was close to crossing his red line.
If they hang him, you're going to see some things that I don't know what where you come from and what your thought process is, but you'll perhaps be very happy.
What do you mean by that?
We will take very strong action. If they do such a thing, we will take very strong action. We don't want to see what's happening in Iran happen. And, you know, if they want to have protests, that's one thing. When they start killing thousands of people, and now you're telling me about hanging, we'll see how that works out for them. It's not going to work out good.
So you see, Donald Trump, you know, is like, oh, if they do something, you know, to these people that's over there rebel rousing, then it's going to be a bad day for them. You know, that's their country. You can't go over there and tell these people how to police their country. What's wrong with you, right? Matter of fact, you know, you got a problem with people over there rioting. Why y'all got a problem when people over here do anything, right? You know what I'm saying? You don't see, you know, Putin and Iran, you know what I mean, sending weapons over here for these people that are against those ICE agents.
Our ICE agents are following the law and running their operations according to training. Last night what we saw was 3 individuals weaponize shovels and brooms and attack an ICE officer that had to defend himself. So we're hopeful that we don't see that again, that these protesters and violent rioters will be held accountable for the actions that they're taking and that our officers can do their work safely.
What about that officer that you were mentioning? Can you give us an update on that ICE officer's condition after he was hit with the shovel? And then
you know,
we're seeing those cars looted in Minnesota. Can you provide an update on what the agency is going to do about that and if you're concerned with the documents that were taken by those?
Well, I believe that those vehicles were FBI vehicles, not our Department of Homeland Security vehicles. So I'm not certain what documents were in there that those criminals may have taken and seen. But I would say that our agent is beat up, he's bruised, he's injured, he's getting treatment, and we're thankful that he made it out alive.
All right, so you see, right? You know what I mean? Renee Good, she weaponized her vehicles, what they said. Now these people are weaponizing shovels and brooms. Oh, that's a whole lot different than, you know what I'm saying, somebody giving, you know, rioters, you know, firearms and everything and to go and completely start fires and shoot people and kill people, right? You know, imagine if Americans were starting to do that to your ICE agents. You know, would you sit there and would you greet them, you know what I'm saying, and say, oh, well, nobody's supposed to do anything about it? Or would you want Putin saying, yeah, if you touch any of them that's causing this civil disturbance in your country, you know what I mean, we're going to come and bomb you, right? The hypocrisy of it all is ridiculous, right? But now let's go listen to some more ridiculousness from this Piers Morgan, because he's a shield too.
You can, of course, question whether and why this is our fight. You can worry about what regime change looks like in reality. You can vehemently oppose British or American troops being sent to any Middle Eastern conflict. But the only humanitarian position is to be deeply and vocally appalled by what Iran's leaders have done to the people of a once great country. Many influential people who were justifiably outraged by the atrocities in Gaza have said little or nothing about the mass murder of Iranian protesters. They're so wedded to opposing Israel that anything Israel could benefit from is automatically deemed suspicious or wrong. To be clear, it works both ways. Many prominent supporters of Israel, who suddenly found a very deep concern for human rights in the Middle East, were cheering the IDF as children starved or were killed. There's a big debate to be had about President Trump's sudden zest for global meddling, and we're going to have it. But whatever happens next, the Iranian protesters deserve our support, and there can surely be no real debate about that.
the Iranian protesters deserve our support. Why? Y'all are funding them, and giving them weapons and all this type of stuff. You're completely undermining the authority of their government, right? Why? Because y'all don't like their government? What you're the policeman of the world? You got to go spread your beliefs in other people's country, right? So now all of a sudden, the same man who reluctantly, at best, wanted to say something about them going into another land, taking people's homes, throwing those people out of those homes, right? And then bombing the crap out of them, their hospitals and their schools, utterly leveling everything, right? Absolutely destroying everything, killing women and innocent children. And you compared this to that? There's not Iranian people invading in somebody else's land. That's their land. They already got a society. Now, all of a sudden, y'all are arming, right? You're arming these people to go in here and cause chaos. And then when they cause chaos and they get caught, because 9 times out of 10, they're probably your people that's over there leading these insurrections. They get caught and face the death penalty, and you say, you touch them, and we're going to bomb you. Well, it seems like to me you sent in these agent provocateurs. They were working for you. That's the reason why you want to defend them. You don't want your people to be hung, right? So now you ain't telling the American people that you're over there meddling in their business. You're not telling them that these people are really Americans or CIA agents or whatever that's going over into Iran to sow discord. You ain't telling people that. But yet y'all want people to equate this, and you can see, Mark Levin did it, Piers Morgan did it, and that Laura Loomer did it. Y'all trying to get people to equate what's going on in Iran with the same thing that's going on in Gaza, which everybody who got any common sense can see it is not the same thing, right? Y'all say that the Most High brought you back into that land, right? Because this was your land, that you are the true children of Israel, and now everybody knows that that's a lie. So you don't have any right, and y'all don't even believe in the Most High. You don't believe in God, and half of you don't accept Jesus. But you want Christians to stand up and support you when you reject Jesus as the Messiah. All y'all do is lie and manipulate people. And people go along with this here in America because they're just as much in bed with you as the Brits are in bed with you. Let's go and listen to what Rand Paul has to say about this on Piers Morgan, and then we'll move on.
Well, joining me now is Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul. Senator Paul, great to have you back on Uncensored.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What do you make of what is happening in Iran? As we're about to start this interview, it's been announced the United States is pulling out military personnel from its air base in Qatar. That is the largest air base in the Middle East for the American military. How significant do you think that is? Are we about to see more strikes along the lines of what we saw last summer?
I think the one thing we can all agree on is we hope and wish for the best for the Iranian people. We'd love to see them live in a free society. As you mentioned, Iran was once a great country. It's a populous nation, has great natural resources. For many, many decades, they were leaning towards Europe. They had Western traditions. They were open. You didn't see veils on the women dressed in Western wear. They were very open. It was an intellectual society. Many of those intellectuals ultimately fled over time as the religious zealots took over. So we all want what's best for them. My concern with bombing Iran, though, is that you might get the opposite. Right now, the ire, the dander, the emotion and the protest is to oppose the mullahs, to oppose the religious government. The problem is when bombs begin dropping from Americans, will that shift the anger of the people away from their mullahs? Will they rally around their flag, and will nationalism supplant? Will the anger towards America dropping bombs be greater than their anger towards the mullahs? So I think there's a danger that you shift the balance here away from the freedom movement. And so I would be very, very cautious with doing this. I'm also kind of a stickler for the Constitution. I think you don't bomb anybody without asking the people through their representatives.
This presidential administration is not asking the people, Congress, or anybody anything, right? All they're doing is listening to Israel, right? Now, the bottom line is, if America goes over there and bomb them, then who are the Iranians and everybody else going to blame, right? You already got half of the world that don't like America. Why? Because America has facilitated these Jewish people going down there into a land that doesn't belong to them. Simple as that, right? And so they're doing everything to try to maintain this lie, right? But see, what people don't want to understand about all of this, they are not the true children of Israel. That's why y'all got all this drama going on. See, if it was the Most High that done all this, we would have had all this stuff out of the way. But you told a lie. Now you're caught in that lie, you know? But now you see, Israel is setting up America to be the fall guy for all this crap, right? They don't want to get into it. They don't want Iran to just come pop off like they did back in June when Iran started bombing the crap out of them, right? Oh, well, yeah, we got to stop. We got to stop, right? But now they want America to take the lead, right? So that Iran can turn all its ire towards America, right? They don't want to be the bad guy. Let me show you this next clip, how Netanyahu went over here to try to buddy up with Putin. You see what I'm saying? And, oh, well, we're not going to hit and send a message to Putin to give to, you know what I mean, the Iranians, right? Because the bottom line is they're trying to set America up to be the fall guy.
As Iran burns in its biggest protests in years, a hidden diplomatic channel has emerged, revealing how close the region may be to war. Days before nationwide protests erupted across Iran in late December, Israeli officials quietly sent a message to Tehran through Russia. According to diplomats and regional officials, Israel assured Iran it would not launch strikes if it were not attacked first. Iran responded through the same Russian channel, agreeing it would also refrain from a preemptive attack. The exchange was extraordinary given the deep hostility between the two rivals, who fought a 12-day war just months earlier. The back-channel communication highlighted Israel's effort to avoid being blamed for escalating tensions with Iran.
Now, y'all remember, what did we talk about what them people do on Yom Kippur, right? They go in on Yom Kippur and say, any vow that we make, you know what I mean, we break, you can't hold us accountable, right? So they will blatantly go in and lie to your face, right? They don't think there's nothing wrong with telling a lie to the Gentiles or keeping, you know what I mean, agreements with Gentiles, right? The goyim is what they call it. So here it is. They go in and sneak and tell, you know, Russia that, hey, we're not gonna strike Iran as long as they don't strike us, right? But yet you go and then you start going in and trying to divide their country by, you know what I mean, influencing people to riot against the government, you know? Now, United States sits here and lets Israel, you know, I just showed y'all the article, Mossad tell them, oh, they're over here killing people and all this type of stuff. So you see what's going on. No, they don't want to strike Iran because that's where they messed up back in June. Remember, when the United States and Iran were supposed to have these meetings, Israel went in and struck Iran. Then when everybody, you know what I mean, when Iran went to retaliating, everybody was saying, well, Israel hit them first. So the bottom line is, no, United States, we don't need to go over there. Israel hit them first. Let Israel fight their own battle, right? But now what you see, they go to Russia. We're not going to hit them, just as long as Iran don't hit us. Iran makes it, well, as long as they don't hit us, we don't hit them. So what do? Netanyahu comes over here, gets in Trump's ear. Next thing you know, Trump is over here threatening to go over there and bomb Iran. So who's going to get the blame, Israel or America, if America goes in there and bombs Iran first? You see? So the bottom line is you can see how they be playing both sides of the table, how they try to manipulate people. Let's go back to the videos.
At the time, Israel was preparing for a major military campaign against Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militia in Lebanon. Privately, Israel sought to keep Tehran on the sidelines while it focused its firepower northward. Publicly, however, Israeli officials were striking a far more aggressive tone, openly hinting at renewed strikes on Iran. Those threats centered on Iran's rapidly replenishing ballistic missile stockpile. The contrast between public rhetoric and private reassurance underscores the fragile balance both sides were trying to maintain. Iranian officials responded positively, but remained deeply suspicious of Israel's intentions. According to officials familiar with the exchange, Tehran feared Israel's pledge left room for U.S. strikes coordinated with Tel Aviv. The concern was that Washington could hit Iranian regime targets while Israel trained its military focus strictly on Hezbollah. For Tehran, staying out of a wider conflict was seen as the lesser of two risks. A senior regional official described the arrangement bluntly, saying for Iran it was a good deal. U.S. officials have since said Iran's support for Hezbollah has already decreased as Tehran battles domestic unrest.
All right, so you see, Iran's not dumb, you know. They're like, yeah, y'all saying y'all not gonna hit us, but what about your buddy over here, right? What if they come in here and hit us, right? Oh, so if they hit us, what you think? We not gonna hit you, right? So you see, you know, Israel trying to cut these little side deals, you know what I mean, so that they don't get fired on. Because what they realized the first time when they went and hit them, and Iran for 12 straight days kept raining down missiles on them. And at first, their little dome, you know, and whether or not even all of this is a stage, you know what I mean, you can't trust nothing. None of this stuff that these people are doing, because remember, this final war, according to Albert Pike, was that, you know what I mean, they got to make the Zionist state of Israel look like they're going up against the Muslims to bring about chaos within the whole world, right? So the bottom line is, though, but when we start talking about the Pax Judaica, right, then maybe they're wanting America to fall so they can move their operations into the Middle East now. Okay, and we know that, you know what I'm saying, according to, you know, end time prophecy, that the Gentiles have to come down into the valley of the Jehoshaphat to be judged. Okay, so we all know all that stuff, right? But this is what we're saying is, you see how Israel now is trying to, you know, get America to come in there and do the dirty work, right? And then that way, you know what I'm saying, America is at war with China, with Russia, and with Iran, right? Where Israel is still sitting up here trying to be buddy-buddy with Putin and them, right? So that's why I tell you, you can't, you know, what's going to happen now, you know what I'm saying, is like, you just got to understand geopolitics, and you got to watch, and you got to pray, and you got to prepare, right? Because the bottom line, there's no telling what's going to happen with these people. You know what I mean? All of them are liars. But let's go and look at this next clip, and then I want to, you know, transition into, you know, I want to talk about, you know what I mean, Daniel chapter 8, but we got to, you know, do a little bit of history about Iran, you know what I mean, because how Iran originally was called Persia. But let's look at this next clip first.
I don't think it's something the United States is actively engaged in trying to hasten anything. It's a matter of respect, and this is how President Trump has framed it. He certainly wants there to be recognition that the government of Iran should not murder its own people, should not injure them and hurt them because they're protesting. They have a right to protest, and they're protesting about legitimate things. I don't think that right now the U.S. or Israel is making plans to engage. I don't know what may happen. I simply don't know. I would be totally out of my league if I said, here's what will happen. We don't know.
The caution is notable given Israel's history. In June, Israel launched a sophisticated surprise attack against Iran while nuclear talks with Washington were still underway. Security analysts say Israel would welcome regime change in Tehran, but not at the cost of absorbing devastating retaliation. Seema Shine, a former Mossad intelligence chief, said Israel is allowing the U.S. to take the lead on any potential strikes.
All right, so as y'all can see, here's the state of Israel, okay? And you can see, here's Iran, all right? This is also called the Persian Gulf down here. All right. Okay, so this is why this was originally called Persia. Okay, now as you can see, north of here, you know, you have Russia. It's up through here. That's Russia. Okay, and you can see the Russian, this is the Caspian Sea. So in order for Russia to get things down to the Persian Gulf or to get trade, they can, it's easier for them to come up through Iran, right? But the bottom line is, see, so if the United States and Israel could take out this, now you basically locking, Russia out of the Persian Gulf. So you see, this is strategic of what they're trying to do. Not to mention, you got China sitting over here, right? And a lot of this oil that's in here, China needs, you see, because China is heavily dependent on other oil, right? Even though they can get oil through Russia, okay? But the bottom line is you can see why if the United States and Israel can take out Iran, you're basically doing damage to China and Russia. So it's more to this than just, oh, why come Israel and Iran is into it, right? And at one point in time, the Brits were in control of the Iranian oil stuff over here. This is when they got kicked out, BP and all that, when they overthrew Mossadegh. But anyway, let's go and show you more about the history of Persia. All right, so next we pick this up, the mapsoftheworld.com, where you see where they say, where's Persia, all right? So you see that another word for Iran is Persia, okay? And like I was showing you before, you see the Persian Gulf there, and it's still called the Persian Gulf, right? But a lot of here down there where you see Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and Oman, all those are oil producing countries, even in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia over here, right? And so you get a lot of oil that's coming out of the Persian Gulf, okay? All right, so now we'll pick it up and see what it says. The name Persia may, however, only be used to refer to Iran in some contexts. When used in the historical context, the term Persia may refer to the land ruled by any of the dynasties that built their empire around modern-day Iran. In this article, we will explore where is Persia, interesting facts, and more. Is Persia a country? Persia is not a country today. It is the old name for what we now call Iran. For many centuries, Persia was used to describe this region and its people. So even though it is not a country now, it refers to the same area as modern-day Iran. Where is Persia located? The name Persia in modern usage is a reference to the Islamic Republic of Iran. The name Persia and Iran are often used interchangeably. In 1935, the Iranian government asked the world to call the country Iran instead of Persia. So you see, that's where the name switch came in 1935. Iran is located in Western Asia. It is bordered by Armenia, Azerbaijan, the Caspian Sea, and Turkmenistan to the north, and Afghanistan and Pakistan to the east, the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman to the south, and Turkey and Iraq to the west, okay? The Iranians themselves do not use the name Persia to refer to their homeland. Iran is the name that was used by various rulers of the soil since the 1st century. It means land of the Aryans, an all-encompassing term that covers the different ethnic groups in the country. So that's the key. What I want y'all to see is that there's different ethnic groups there, because the Iranians that you see now are not the original Persians, okay? But this is what, let's go ahead and read this one more. Where was Persia? Historically, it was the name for what we now call Iran. The use of the name Persia to refer to Iran may have originated from Greco-Roman, the Greeks and the Roman. Usage of Persian for Pars or Fars, one of the 31 provinces of modern Iran. The indigenous people of Fars are the Persians, but over time, the term came to become a name for the people from all of Iran. This reference is incorrect since it ignores the presence of important ethnic groups such as the Kurds and Turks in Iran, okay? The Persian Empire, right, and this is what you see in the Bible. When we talk about Cyrus the Great, he was the one that said for the Israel, the Jews that was in his kingdom to go back and rebuild the temple, okay? So the Persian Empire, especially during the Achaemenid period, about 550-330 BCE, which was built by Cyrus the Great in approximately 500 BC, based in southern Iran, Cyrus the Great built an empire that covered Medes, Lydia, and Babylon. In this context, Persia stretched into Eastern Europe as well. Subsequent Persian empires, Parthian Empire, the Seleucid Empire, and the latter Sasanian Empire of the 7th century. It included parts of what we now know as Turkey, Egypt, the Middle East, and Central Asia. Over different periods and under various rulers, the Persian Empire size changed, often covering large parts of the ancient world, okay? So now let me show you a map of that. Okay, so now you see a map of the Persian Empire and how far it stretched, okay? So at one point in time, it did, include, Palestine, Phoenicia and all through there in this region here. Right? Okay, as you can see, even all the way up through Turkey, even down into Egypt, okay, right? So now we see how big the Persian Empire was. Now I want you to see the guards who was at Susa, the palace, which is down in this region here in Mesopotamia, and I want y'all to see what color they were, and then we're going to jump into Daniel chapter 8.
The curly hair the ancient Persians had was like this. This is an Afro-texture hair. I prove this claim the ancient Persians were black using the reliefs from the Darius palace at Susa that are the only painted and colored pictures from the ancient Persians that were created by themselves. As you can clearly see, all the Persian guards, these immortal guards of Darius, all of them are black skinned. Even the Persian sphinxes have curly hair, curly beard, and black skin. So the ancient Persians were black. Some people claim that those guards and sphinxes were not Persian but Elamite. My answer is that even the most stupid king would never choose his best guards and warriors from a people who have already been defeated, subdued by his own people. Besides this, there is no difference between these immortal gods of Darius, who are claimed to be Elamite, with Persians.
All right, so you can see all they have done is, whitewash history, okay? But the bottom line is, as you can see in Daniel chapter 8, it was foretold that the Greeks, well, it ended up being the Greeks, that they would come in and overthrow the Persian Empire, which is exactly what happened with Alexander the Great, okay? But in Daniel chapter 8, this was prophesied, right? So that's the reason why when you look at the modern day Iranians, a lot of them are mixed, right? They are, mixed with the original Persians, and then you got the Greeks that went through there, the Romans went through there. So the same way they conquered all of the natives that was here in America, the same thing they did over there with Iran. But eventually those people rose up against Britain and the British Empire and kicked them out. But in Daniel chapter 8, way back, during after Cyrus's time, when Alexander the Great came up, it was prophesied that somebody from Greece was going to come there and attack them. So this is what you'll see. Daniel chapter 8, in the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. Now remember, Daniel's in captivity, okay? So now he's under, he's in the province of Elam, okay? Verse 2, and I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace. So that's why I just showed y'all those guards, right? At Shushan, right? And you see what color they were, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had 2 horns, and 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other. And the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward, okay, and northward, and southward, so that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. So this ram was basically taking over and was expanding his empire, okay? And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, okay? So he came from the west and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran into him in the fury of his power. Okay, so this he-goat comes and runs and smacks into the ram, you know what I'm saying, in the fury of his power. Now remember this, because this prophecy could actually, you know how the Father is, where history will repeat itself, right? But we know this was fulfilled with Alexander the Great. But could this be what we're about ready to see again? Okay, so this is why I'm reading it. This is why I'm reading it to you, because 9 times out of 10 they're going to use this to justify any invasion of Iran anyway, right? But anyway, verse 7. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram and brake his two horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Okay, so the ram that was growing and going all over the place got basically conquered and got stamped down to the ground. Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. Okay, so this great horn that broke, you know what I mean, that the he-goat that beat the ram, all of a sudden it gets broke, and then it becomes into 4 different pieces. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. Okay, and it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of the sanctuary was cast down. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And it came to pass, when I, even I Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So now we're going to get an understanding of this ram and this he-goat, okay? So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. So see, this is where you know what I'm saying, we got to understand that this could have a twofold meaning, right? Because even though it happened back during Alexander the Great's time, this could actually be what's going on now, right? Verse 18, Now as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. For at the time appointed the end shall be, okay? The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia, okay? Now, what that actually is in today's time would be Iran and Iraq, okay? And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now, this is where, you know what I mean? After the Median Empire grew, then the Persians took over from them. So first it was Babylon, then the Medes and the Persians came up, and then after that, the Greeks came and destroyed that Media and Persian empire, okay? So the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. That was Alexander the Great, okay? Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. Now, when Alexander the Great died, you know what I'm saying? The kingdom of Greece got split into 4 different countries under 4 different leaders. I know it was the Ptolemies and the Seleucid and all this different kind of stuff. But anyway, verse 23, And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Okay, so now we see where it becomes a little different. because it says at the time of the end. Well, we know Alexander and the Great and all them wasn't the time of the end. So now could Grecia, remember I always told y'all about, you know what I'm saying, the United States being, remember it says that, you know, the children of Judah have you sold to the Grecians. If the Grecians are still the United States, because the United States practices democracy, right? So could this be, right, and I'm just speculating here, so don't quote me on this, but could it be that the ram, you know what I'm saying, is Iran now again, and the rough goat or the he goat be the United States, right? That they will be the one to go in, you know what I mean, from the West, you know what I'm saying? The West, who is in the West, America. Could it be that this is also a fulfillment of that prophecy, you know what I'm saying? Because now we're coming to the time of the end, right? But anyway, verse 25, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. That's exactly what Trump and all them saying. Oh, we're trying to come in and establish peace in Iran and all this type of stuff, and y'all are going over there to bomb people, right? He shall also stand up against the prince of princes. Remember, Trump already said he's not a Christian, right? But he shall be broken without hand. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterwards I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. All right, so now let's go right back up here one more time to what it said about the he-goat, okay? Remember, and as I was considering, I'm in verse 5, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, right? And touched not the ground. So if this he-goat comes from the west and don't touch the ground, that means he's got to be flying, right? So if America goes in here flying, this could literally be the prophecy being fulfilled as far as this is concerned, okay? And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. So I'm just saying, right, sometimes, you know, with prophecy, we know it's type and shadow, right? You know, the first time when the children of Israel came out of Egypt is also a foretelling of the second time when the Most High have to bring the children of Israel from all the places that he scattered us, okay? So I just wanted y'all to understand that, you know, and understand how all this stuff still could be biblical prophecy being, you know what I mean, being, you know, fulfilled right before our very eyes, all right? All right, so before we get out of here, I would also like to, you know what I mean, give a shout out to, you know, Brother Byron. You know, he told me he had a younger cousin, right? And he had reached out to me. And I basically, you know what I mean, I had posted this on my page, you know, on my YouTube page. But for some of you who don't know, she's a younger lady, you know what I mean, who basically, you know, is doing, you know, some animations, right? And this is her page, Yana Animations. And so if y'all would, you can go and support her. Now, this video here, Zombie and the Unseen Kingdom, right, is the video that I saw, you know, and it was really good. So, you know, and it's for younger people, you know, for children or whatever. But, you know, if we can just support her, you know, and support her page, right? Because, you know, she reached back out to me and was very grateful. So I just want to make sure that I highlight her page. All right. Thanks for your support in advance. All right. So once again, you know what I mean? We've come to the end. All right, I appreciate each and every one of y'all. You know, we all know, right? We could be in for some perilous times. We got to expect it. That's what the Bible tells us, that nation shall rise up against nation. You know what I'm saying? Kingdom against kingdom. So we shouldn't be surprised that any of these things unfold, right? But, you know, we got to keep our eyes, you know what I'm saying, on what's really going on. That's why I try to, you know, talk so much about geopolitics on this channel, to make sure that we are aware, you know, that this stuff don't come upon us and we're not looking, we're not prepared. You know what I'm saying? As one who's called to be, you know, a watchman, it's my job that if you see, you know what I'm saying, the enemy approaching, you got to blow the trumpet. You got to sound the trumpet. That's what he said, so that the blood won't be on my hand. And that's all I'm here to try to do. All right. So hopefully this lesson helps everybody to understand, you know what I mean? Stay prayed up no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Most High bless each and every one of y'all. Till we meet again. Shalom. Let's get out of here with K. Judah.
Though I walk through the valley of death. Shadows whisper, stealing my breath. The ground feels cold, like it's alive. Each step a battle, just to survive. Though I walk alone through the dark, through the storm, but I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. A light inside, it's my barricade. The trees, they shiver, they bend and creak. The wind, it howls, the future bleak. Yet my heart beats loud, a steady drum. It tells the night I won't succumb. They can't break me, no they won't, no they won't. My soul's on fire, they don't know. Though I walk alone through the dark, through the storm, but I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. A light inside, it's my barricade. Fear is a shadow, it clings to the weed. But I got a voice, and I let it speak. Mountains crumble, the skies might fall, but I'll rise up, I'll rise through it all. Though I walk, though I'm not afraid, a lot afraid. No, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. It's my bad.